and backed it up to the existing edge. It is really, I have a little car, it's really hard to make.
Right.
So
What is that back out distance?
that is just shy of 40 feet. So if somebody is, it's one thing if you're in the garage, but if you're not in the garage and you're somebody's coming and visiting, that's when the back out becomes. I mean, even for the garage, it can be tight, but it's
Because
really
you can't line it up tight as if you were coming out of the bay.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the only addition. The mitigation plan, I've just clarified it, did it, sort of expanded it, and clearly I identified what is included in it. So I didn't include all the additional plantings. It's just the 1,250 plus.
And I think there's a note, Delia, you were going to add to the conditions about the structural.
Right, so the
Aspect
wall
of-
is 3 feet 8 inches at the highest exposed, but the building department requires what is retaining, so down to the footing.
Okay.
So we'll just include a condition that structural stamp be provided on the plan,
Okay.
and that the wall will receive a building permit as well.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Any other comments from the commissioner? Okay. Any public comment in regard to this plan?
Sorry? It's, they can't, I can, should be all set.
Okay. All right. You see anything out there, Delia?
Not?
Okay. So I think we do have a condition for this, if someone wants to take that on. Motion.
Okay. I move that we close and issue order of conditions for DEP file number 1371561 455 Essex Street. With findings A, B, and C, standard conditions 1 through 20, and special conditions 21 through 59.
Second. Thanks, Greg. And the vote. Greg?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good luck with the project. It's been,
Yeah.
it's been a little bit of a push, but
Yes, it
thanks for
is.
sticking with it.
Thank you.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Christian.
We're definitely.
Yes, I
Able to
got
be here.
confirmation.
Good.
Oh, excellent.
All right. Next item on the agenda
Do you want to do directors now?
Oh, sure. Happy to. Why don't we slice in the director's report or update?
Sure. So just a couple of things. The Waters Pond dredging permitting contract has been awarded to EA Engineering. Project kickoff is the week of August 30th. They will be preparing the order, the notice of intent application for you, Chapter 91 license permits, Section 404 water quality certification, and Army Corps authorization approval. And the anticipated completion of the permitting phase of the project is June of next year. The Ball Benson House. So you might recall a couple of years ago, David Ottinger is a historian and historical architect. He dismantled the Ball Benson House from October Farm Riverfront when that piece of property was bought by the water department in the 90s, early 2000s. And it was dismantled. It was put into containers and it's been stored at the wastewater treatment plants. And he's checked it and it's fine. And there was a discussion too in March 2019 about reconstructing that in some iteration, whether it's the house is placed into the barn and it's a sort of interpretive museum kind of thing. There's a few different options that he's looking at. The commission had talked about suitability of the Harrington Park site. We concurred that was an appropriate place. The deed for that was conservation and recreation. And so he is going to be presenting to the HDC tomorrow night to get some guidance from them whether they think it's an appropriate project as well. And Marcia wanted me to invite the NRC to attend that meeting. So it's tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. And if anybody's interested, I can send you the Zoom link for it, as well as this proposal. So it sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
Cousins Field. So that is a piece of conservation land in West Concord that has historically been used for recreation purposes. So it's, the rec department runs programs there, both formal and informal.
Where is it?
Cousins Field is at the end of Prairie Street. So kind of in the, where Conant Street is, on the other side of Conant, sort of kitty corner, you take Prairie down all the way. Short Street, Cousins Field is there, it borders on the Assabet, right on the other side is basically Harrington Park, actually. So the neighborhood there, Beth Barry Amos, who's one of our trail stewards, she's been very active in doing invasive species management there, and she has a bench put in. And she's very interested in getting a fundraiser together to raise money to put in plantings on the sort of riverfront bank, not in the field itself, but on the areas where the invasives are being removed. So she's asking permission for land use permits to have like a fundraiser event with food trucks and music and like 100 people, which is not something I felt comfortable just issuing a permit with without just at least running it by you and getting your feedback. I've also asked her to get input from the community, the neighborhood, to see if they're supportive of that, because it could be disruptive, but it could be a great event too. I think it sounds really great, but I thought it would be helpful just to see what the commission thought about that as a. I don't think it's precedent setting, just because of the nature of that field. As I mean, it gets such use anyway.
Theater on the field wouldn't be an issue, probably.
We would not allow vehicles on the field. I mean, there could be like the food trucks would be parked along the street.
Okay.
It's pretty wide. Prairie Street is pretty wide, but we wouldn't allow them on the field anyway. But there, I mean, I haven't explored details with her on porta potties or anything like that. But there might be, a few of those.
A weekend event, weekday event, evening.
Is it private or open to anyone?
It would be open to the public.
We're just assuming that every time.
Yeah. I mean, we would definitely not want it to be a private event. I think that would be a condition that it should be open to the public, because we don't sponsor private events on conservation land. So I just wanted to be sure that that was something that didn't raise any red flags.
Let the rec department know.
Of course.
I can't see
it's
any
a good
really
idea.
red flags. Yeah.
How much
And I
do they
believe-
raise?
I think, I mean, whatever they raise.
Yeah.
Put towards planting. And I think it would be a weekend.
Yeah, that makes more
Day.
sense to capture as many people as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And in the fall?
September.
September, okay.
So
Makes
this way, I think
sense.
it would
Get
be
people
late
back.
September.
Yeah.
Okay. And the final thing is that the light plant and the town sustainability division are hosting a climate friendly homes and vehicles event on September 13th. It is at Harvey Wheeler currently, and they will let people know, register snow if that changes. There's a link here. I have flyers out on the table out there, but if anybody's interested, I can pass this around and the link is there.
I've already signed it.
Oh, good. Of
Yeah,
course you
no,
have.
that sounds like a good one.
Is
Yeah.
this September 13th?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thanks, Delia. All right, we'll move on to the next agenda item, 250 Old Bedford Road. Let's see, DEP file number 137-1542. Pat or Molly, are you going to?
Yeah, I will kick it off. For the record, Molly Windorf with Stamsky McNary. Also on virtually with me tonight is Brooke from Lemon Brook Landscape Architects, Adam from DW Arthur Associates Architecture, and then Pat Nelson is in the room with you. She's the executive director of the Concord Children's Center. Last we met with the commission, there were just a few things. I believe there's clarification on some of the mitigation area square footages, a few notes that the plan needed. And so we had provided a revised plan including those, a revised impervious area table, including the mitigation areas as well. And then there was some follow-up from Delia about an additional 613 square feet of mitigation needed to provide that one-to-one mitigation offset in the buffer zone. So we did provide a revised plan. Brooke was able to modify the mown path area and pick up an additional, I believe it was a little bit more than the 613 square feet in the buffer zone. And now we have the full 5-to-1 mitigation for the structures in the 50-foot, as well as the 1-to-1 for the increase in impervious area within the buffer zone. An impervious area table was provided to clarify this. And then I believe there was a request for just some square footage numbers for the proposed school space, as well as the existing spaces at Emerson and Ripley. So an explanation had been provided from Adam for that. So if the commission has any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
I guess I just like to understand the 613 square feet a little bit. I know you mentioned it was a revision to the mown path, but is it pointed out in the plan anywhere, or where did that occur as against the last plan? It's hard to read that other than looking at this plan, and it doesn't kind of call that out, if you will.
Molly, if you could zoom over to that area where we had the garden beds.
Yeah, I think Delia's got control. So it's
Oh,
over
okay.
by the front porch, Delia, where that, yeah.
Yeah, so where the tag says meadow, that is between the two trees, yes, right there. We had a lawn area, fairly significant lawn area outside of the 25-foot there, that also had some garden beds, raised garden beds for programmatic use that was within this fenced area. And to get the additional square footage within the 100, we had to give up the garden bed use. So now it will be entirely meadow there up into the fence line, with just a gate in and a small area to mow along the building for maintenance, and then a small area there to gather children before they go through the mown path.
Okay, so where the hand is, I guess, right? That's where
That's where the
the
beds-
raised.
Yes, that was lawn. That area between the fence and the 25, which is there marked pretty boldly, that area was all lawn previously with these garden beds. So now we've reduced the lawn significantly to gain the additional mitigation area of meadow.
Okay, thank you. And just out of curiosity, by picking up the 613 square feet, obviously it's a fairly dense site by way of building and mitigation. Is it right down to the 613 square feet? There's no leeway in that number as against the built environment on the site. And I only raised it because things happen during construction and you'd hate to come up short if things didn't quite sit just as planned.
There is a little bit of wiggle room. I believe we're 15 square feet over in mitigation. So that's kind of the buffer that we're working with. But it's a tight site. Any areas that can be mitigated are being mitigated. And then, obviously areas for play space need to be left as play space as a requirement for the childcare facilities.
Okay. It is a tight site. Any of the commissioners have any comments? Okay. Anyone in the public have any comments in regard to this plan revisions today? Anything online, Celia? Okay.
Can I just
Yes, please.
make a comment that I just was trying to be sure that the pheno markers were shown in the correct locations, right?
Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Those are also shown on the revised plan along the mowed path.
So is that what these little circles are?
So they're actually shown on the civil drawings. I believe they're on sheet 6. Or 5 on sheet 5 of the entire plan set. So it'll be up towards the beginning.
Sheet 5?
Yes. Yep, that one. Adobe can be a little finicky.
So these solid dots.
Yep. And then the note that Delia wanted is also annotated on the plan.
See that now.
Okay, good.
This is the one you'd want them on.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Well, I think we're ready for a motion. I believe this is that right? 43 Old Bedford?
No,
No, I'm
we
sorry.
don't have a permit ready for that.
Oh, we do not have one. Okay, I thought we did. All right. All right, hearing no other comments, I guess we'd be ready for the next hearing.
We would be ready to close the issue at the next meeting.
Okay,
With no need for the applicant to attend.
all right. So if you're good with that, Molly and Pat? Okay, very good. We'll take care of it at our next hearing.
Great.
So you got it.
Oh, Karen thinks we do have it. Okay, I'm sorry.
I thought we did.
That's what I thought we did too. Let me see, I've got 43 to 15. Yeah, it's right here. I think that's the one. I think we're ready to go, actually.
I move we close and issue an order of conditions for DEP file number 1371562, 250 Old Bedford, 542, 61.
What do you have, Greg? Does it match up?
42 on the
1562.
1562?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is
Yeah.
250 Old Bedford Road with findings A, B, C, standard conditions 1 through 20, and special conditions 21 through 62. Second.
All right, in the vote, Greg,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
and I and I as well.
Good.
There you go.
Thank you.
Expedited.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you, Molly.
Thank you.
Thank you all. All right, let's see. Next up, I think it's a abbreviated notice of intent. No, excuse me, I'm jumping the gun. It's a RDA, Town of Concord, 68 Commonwealth Ave and 300 Baker Ave, RDA file number 21-22. And who's here this evening to discuss this?
I'm here,
Ah.
Elizabeth Hughes, town planner, and then
Sam Campbell. We got Sam in person.
and Sam in person. Okay. So I'm going to be very brief. This is a request for a determination of applicability for the Assabet River pedestrian bridge. This is a project that I'm sure everybody is familiar with. It's been in the works for a decade, maybe, and it's finally moving forward in an incredibly positive direction. And this RDA is to allow for the soil borings to help solidify where the bridge is going to be placed. It's somewhere adjacent to the bottom of your screen is the commuter rail bridge. And the new pedestrian bridge will be adjacent to the commuter rail bridge. And at this point, we're working with our consultants, GPI, to advance this through the permitting process and the design process through Mass DOT. And this is just our next step in the process. So I'll turn it over to Sam.
Yeah, thank you. You did a great job covering all that. As she mentioned, the proposed borings, of which there are 5, are necessary to finalize or determine the soil horizon as well as bedrock information that will drive the final location of the bridge abutments and kind of determine that final alignment of the bridge through the area. If you look up at your screen, you'll see those blue flags are indicative of both the river there as well as the adjacent wetlands. And those thicker black lines that you're seeing are the access path that the contractor will be using to get to the boring locations. And just to clarify, on the western side, left side of the screen, they'll be accessing it from the 68 Commonwealth Avenue / commuter rail driveway that's there. The sort of winding path that you're seeing is to both get the most desirable slopes and grades as they get down there, but also to avoid some large trees that are in that area. That's been a big part of the design, not only for the borings, but also for the bridge itself, is we want to maintain as much of that natural riparian sort of habitat as we can and give people the experience of, a wild scenic river. So, and then on the opposite side, the east side, they'll again be using the parking lot at 300 Baker Ave for access, coming down the slope there to get to the 2 boring locations. Of the boring locations, 2 of them are located within bordering vegetated wetlands. One of them is located just outside the BVW, and then 2 others are below the mean annual high water mark of the river. To provide some additional details on the borings themselves, I promise I'll turn it over to you folks. They will be accessing the site using an ATV rubber track rig. It's about, I think when we discussed with Kurt on site, it's about 12 feet wide, I think was his number. 10 to 12.
Yeah.
If necessary, they'll be putting down the geotech sort of swamp mats to prevent the equipment from sinking in and running up the area too much. We discussed access. As they pull drilling spoils out of the boreholes, they'll be contained in the tub at the surface to allow for suspended solids to settle out, and that way any water that's being released is clean and not full of sediment. And eventually, once that work is complete, they'll fill those boreholes with the spoils to the existing elevation. If they don't have enough soil for some reason, they'll just use sand. So I think at this point, I'll turn it over to the commission for any questions or clarification.
Thank you.
Obviously, doing that during the drive.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
when we were out there, I can speak to it. It was incredibly.
I don't,
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think those mats would help you.
Yeah,
No.
they'd be floating down there. So, I mean, I think, I forget what we had agreed on, but
So
They were gonna
we have a
contact
condition
you.
in the RDA that the work would be done in the dry.
yeah,
So, and I know that the hope is to do it in August, and that's our hope as well. I haven't been out there to see what it looks like since we were out, but there was definitely a couple feet of water and well outside of the riverbanks. So,
big cart.
yeah, and we've got a big car, right?
We're just gonna wait till it drains, till it dries out of it.
Yeah, and as much as we want to do the work, the boring company won't go out and do it if it's wet anyway, so.
Yeah, that'd be tough.
But it's not like this is gonna be done tomorrow, start construction on
No,
Monday.
sure.
Yeah. Can I just had one question. I was reading where as you do the borings, you get the bedrock. And I think I read that you drill into the bedrock 10 feet. And I was just curious about that. There's typically sometimes you just drive to bedrock. It's really just for my edification while you drill into the bedrock. I'm just curious.
Yeah, so I'm not a geotechnical.
Okay, no
but I
problem.
will say my understanding is that when we spoke with the gentleman that was representing them,
It's sitting in the audience.
We got a geotech engineer back there.
Geologist.
Oh, there you go. Great.
sometimes.
Close enough.
they need to differ.
So Peter Newton, I'm here for a different project.
Sure.
Really often drill into rock, it's firm, the top of rock is the back rock, not just broken top.
Ah, gotcha.
It's conservatory.
Okay, thank you. There we go. Okay.
Love this
Yep.
town. Somebody in the.
All right. Any other comments from the commission? Okay. Any comments from the public? Online or in person? Okay. Well, I think we have a motion.
I make a motion to move, issue a negative determination number 2 with the following conditions. 1, a pre-construction site visit shall be held with the DNR staff and the contractor review the erosion controls and limits of work. 2, all disturbed areas shall be seeded. Is this true? They're going to seed them with native seed mix. Native seed mix to be used shall be provided to the division staff at or prior to the pre-construction meetings. 3, after the project has been completed, the applicant shall submit a letter to the NRC stating that all work has been conducted in accordance with all the conditions of this determination of applicability, and any changes from the RDA shall be described. Second.
Thank you, Nick. The vote. Greg?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well.
Drill away.
Thank you all
Yep.
very much.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
The notice-
Have a good night.
You too. All right, next up, Trafton 1643 Monument Street, DEP file number 137. Is there one, Delia?
No, not
Okay,
yet.
okay, still pending. All right, and here we have,
My name is Ben Trashman.
hi, Ben.
Hello. I lived in Concord for about 4.5 years. Our house was built in 2005. It lives entirely in the 100-foot buffer zone. So we currently have a porch and with 2 young kids, and since being here with Triple E and COVID, outdoor time is very important. So we're trying to enclose the existing porch into a screened porch. There's no change in the size of the porch. It's exactly the same size as you could.
I really need a mouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the porch in question is,
Do you want this plan or the next one?
sure, this one shows essentially where the house is today. You can see the where we're proposing the straw bottles, paddles, I don't know what they're called. And then just down from the dark dotted line there, you can see the porch, which is just
Right.
extends past the 50-foot no build zone, along with the rest of the house a little bit there. And so obviously there's no change from a footprint, there's no change from an extension or either into or to the horizontal. Really this is replace the wood, put a roof on it, and do screens.
Thanks. Yeah, it looks very straightforward, straight away. I don't have any comments. Anybody on the commission?
No.
Any public comment? All right, so without a DEP number, nothing we can do this
So
evening?
We'll just continue it to
Yep.
the September 1st meeting. We don't need to attend. It'll just be a closed mission at that point. And then we'll call the office and set up the construction.
Yep, they mailed it to the wrong DP office, and so I in the mail again this morning after their notified. So I apologize.
Not at all.
You don't do this for living, so.
If you could just sign that, it says we continue it to September 1st. Yes.
Thank you, Ben. Good luck with the project.
Appreciate it.
You bet. All right, next on the agenda, Concord Country Club, 246 Old Road, 9 acre quarter, RDA file number 21-19. And who will be discussing that this evening?
I will be discussing that, Dave Crossman with B&C Associates, representing the applicant.
Hi, Dave.
As you know, the country club has an ongoing project to trying to create a storage pond for watering the golf course. And during the process of permitting that and talking with other town boards, and especially with the water department. The water department has requested that the country club install a permanent monitoring well in order to monitor groundwater levels and the impacts that occur when the country club uses the groundwater, and what potential impacts they may have on the nearby town wells, which is across the street. I believe just to the southeast, there's some town wells.
Yeah.
So the current location, I believe everybody has agreed upon placing the proposed monitoring well in the location, which is very near Dugan Brook and just off the edge of the fairway to one of the holes. So the proposal is just to install the one monitoring well here. There's and Peter can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there's a dirt cart road that comes in off of 9 Acre Road on the right over to the side of this area. So we have access without driving across the country, across the golf course, and without coming into any other resource areas. But the drilling well would come in here, set up and install the monitoring well, and any spoils that might come out of the hole would be removed to an area elsewhere on the golf course that's outside all buffer zones to any resource areas on the site. So we're just asking permission to basically to install that within the, I want to say, the 25 feet no disturb and the 50-foot no structure. If Delia could go to the last page as a plan. 13.
It's not,
Sensitive trigger.
you know.
There you go.
Okay, so this is the area with the bottom dashed line is the edge of Dugan Brook, and the more solid line just above that is the edge of the bordering vegetated wetland. The dark line is the solid dark lines of the proposed siltation barriers with the monitoring well right in the middle there. And it is just off the edge of the rough. So we're not proposing any tree removal or shrub removal in that area. It's basically just tall grass that gets mowed whenever the rough gets mowed. So there's no removal of any native or invasive. Basically, there's nothing to be removed for plants in that area. So that's basically what we're requesting. It is something that the town has requested of us, and it's a project that will benefit both the country club and the town in the long run. Even if everything else doesn't go as planned, the monitoring well will still help the country club and the town determine any impacts that the country club has on the groundwater when they do water the golf course during the summer. So I think it's a beneficial project for everybody involved.
Okay,
And that's
I'm
it.
sorry, Dave. You good?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I would concur. It's always good to have monitoring points and data, particularly in any potential large drawdown. So thank you. Any
No question.
no questions? Yeah.
What's the time frame for doing it? How long does it take to do the well you did?
I guess I'll let Greg answer that. I'm not sure what the time frame is on doing
I was just thinking during drier spells.
well,
think-
we'd like to do it
I would think so.
probably August or September, and hopefully we can get back to a regular rainfall and not have,
You always right here.
Dave, Peter Newton from Bristol Engineering Advisors and consultant for the Country Club. We can basically, the rig is available whenever we are. We expect to do it sometime in May, September, October. It's a condition of the special permit, and the duration is half a day, maybe 3/4 of a day, but it's basically we're in.
Oh,
and we're out.
How deep is it going to be ultimately?
Less than 70 feet. The
Ah.
exact depth I can't tell you until we drill and see what we find.
Okay. Well, good. All right. Any public comment in regard to this? All right. And with that,
Make a motion to issue a negative determination, number 1 and 3 with the following conditions. 1, a pre-construction site visit shall be held with the DNR staff and the contractor to review erosion control and limits of work. 2, excess soil shall be disposed of outside the 200 riverfront area and the 100-foot buffer zone. 3, disturbed areas shall be seeded with a native seed mix. And 4, after the project has been completed, the applicant shall submit a letter to the NRC stating that all work has been conducted in accordance with the conditions of this determination of applicability. Any changes from the RDA shall be described.
Can we just confirm that it's negative determination 1 and 3 or 2 and 3?
2 and 3.
2 and 3.
You
Did I
said
say
one-
one,
you said
three?
1 and 3.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate that. And
Thank you for listening.
Yep. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Next on the vote, Greg?
I'm amazed I said 1 and 3.
It
I
happens.
say aye.
It happens. Nick?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. Thank you. All right, let's see. We have a request for determination of applicability, 127 Tarbell Spring Road, RDA file number 21-20. Good evening.
Hi, so we've been in our house for about a year and a half. There's 2 parts to this request section. So the first, there's a stream that runs along the side of our property. So a lot of the property is in the 100-foot zone.
So, can I just ask you to introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Rebecca Park.
Thank you.
And so there's a lot of invasive species on the property. So a lot of buckthorn, some pretty bad bittersweet infestation in a few places, and a couple of places it's really, it's all the way up in the trees. And multiflora rose as well. And so we would basically like to pull, the first part of this is we want to pull the invasive species, and some of that is along the bank of the stream, so it's in the 25-foot zone, and replant native species. We don't want to change the use of the land anywhere, just replace the invasives with natives. That's the first piece, and the second piece is that we have 2 enormous white pines in the front yard, which fall in the 100-foot zone. One of which is multi-stem, and several arborists have told us to come down. So we'd like to remove both of the enormous white pines, and we'll replant with native deciduous trees, probably sugar maples.
Great. Thank you. It's we're seeing more and more of these projects. They're great projects. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Any comment from the commission?
No.
Okay. And any comment from the public? All right. I think we have a motion.
I move to issue a positive determination number 2B. And negative determination number 3 with the following conditions. 1, a pre-construction site visit shall be held with the DNR staff and the contractor to review erosion controls and limits of work. Stockpiling, number 2, stockpiling shall occur outside the 50-foot buffer. 2, the native maples shall be planted as replacement plantings. And 4, after the project is completed, and the applicant shall submit a letter to the NRC stating that all work is conducted in accordance with the conditions. Determination of applicability, any changes from the RDA shall be described.
Do we have a second? Thank you, Nick, and the vote. Greg?
Aye.
Nick? Aye. Sarah?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. There you go.
Thank you.
Good luck with the project,
Thank you.
and thank you for taking it on. All right, let's see. I think our next one is 309 Lindsay Pond Road, a notice of intent, DEP file number 137-1573. All right, who is here this evening to walk us through this?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. This is Matt Morrow. I'm with Matthew S. Morrow Environmental Consulting. I am here pinch hitting for GPR this evening, who is my partner on this project. So to summarize very quickly, what had wound up happening was I was called by Mr. Zinkis, who had done some work on his property without filing anything with the Conservation Commission. He was unaware of the wetland protection regulations and the local wetland protection bylaws. So when he became aware of it, he contacted the office, aware that there was a violation, and they asked him to flag the wetlands and potentially file either an RDA or a notice of intent. So I went out in early July on a very pleasant rainy day, because there were so few of them then, flagged his wetlands for him. And what I found was work within the 25-foot zone, work within 50 feet, work within 100 feet. It has been itemized in the notice of intent by GPR. So I immediately contacted the office to let him know that, let them know, let Delia know what was going on. That I had contacted GPR with Mr. Zinkis's approval, and had them come out, locate my flags, start an analysis of the impacts, submit the notice of intent. And here we are making a proposal to the commission. So we have a bordering vegetative wetland that's located on the eastern part of the site. This site is an existing single-family home with a deck and a yard that was constructed in the late 1960s, and it is obviously within the buffer zone. The closest point being approximately 29 feet away. The existing dwelling, the deck, and the structure are located within Concord's 50-foot no-build zone. So the existing deck and dwelling were located within 50 feet, predating your bylaw. The applicant's structures were essentially a retaining wall, which is pointed out on the plans, a half basketball court, a patio, and a fence area. The wooden split rail fence was installed along the northeast perimeter of the lawn. That, as you see, as the pointer is going to, contains raised beds for plantings. So an analysis of the disturbance shows we have about 670 square feet of hardscape, 340 plus or minus square feet within the no disturbance zone. The retaining wall and fencing, which is approximately 120 linear feet, and 125 feet of square feet of hardscape, and 100 square feet are within the no disturbance zone. This essentially was the retaining wall was installed for the to account for the grading on the lawn area. The reason why the applicant was doing that was because he was looking to keep the family located in Concord. And what was happening was his young children would routinely go out in the backyard, which was a little bit more wooded at the time, and they would wind up coming in on a lot of occasions with ticks embedded in them. So he built that, a lawn area and the fence with a retaining wall to essentially for a safety purpose. Right now, the family is in the midst of relocating. They have a closing on the home scheduled, which the applicant is taking responsibility for any mitigation and remediation as part of his closing that the Conservation Commission deems meet and just. We have a proposed mitigation area on the left. Delia, is that you doing that?
Yeah.
Thank you. So we have a proposed mitigation area. It is approximately 900 square feet with plantings. In this area, some of the underbrush had been previously disturbed. So we're looking at replanting underbrush in the area with, we calculated 16 new shrubs to be planted. We would use a mixture of swamp azalea and winterberry. The planting would be done by hand. It would remain outside the 25-foot wetland no disturb zone. And we'd be looking obviously to plant some, a herbaceous layer as well using, a standard seed mix, similar to what I proposed over on the New Bedford Road notice of intent, which is coming. We would also propose to remove, if you go back to the right a little bit, Delia, you have an area, and there are photos in the notice of intent if you have your packages, where there's a mulch area. So we're going to look to take this area out, all the mulch out, and renaturalize it with a wildflower seed mix. We'll stabilize the area with a turf reinforcement mat and allow it to grow back in and renaturalize. So with that, I will take whatever questions the commission would like to ask.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I guess when I looked at this, obviously it's a series of unfortunate circumstances, to say the least.
Well, I would like to stress, and I don't mean to interrupt, that my client didn't mean anything nefarious.
Of course not.
I
no,
just,
yeah,
it was a misunderstanding.
Yeah, no, certainly understand that. But I think the question in front of the commission tonight is that, if this had come before us in a standard course of business, I don't see how a fair amount of this would have been allowed. And so that's the problem before us this evening. It's, it's not 24 feet off. It's not 26 feet off. It's literally, I think, 4 feet off the wetlands in terms of the retaining wall. It's a fairly substantial structure, as well as portions of the brick patio, the fire pit, and of course on the other side, the split rail fence and the grading that went on. So I guess and again, it's, it's tough because as I understand it, there's a sale in play. So that obviously creates a conflict there, but I'm not sure we can accept just mitigation for something that certainly wouldn't have been allowed, or a good portion of it wouldn't have been allowed if it came before the commission in a normal course of business. And it's concerning that this could set a precedent going forward. People, they didn't know and we understand that, but we can't just simply, I don't think, turn our backs to work that was done without permission, and here we are. So again, that's kind of a simple perspective. I don't know how the other commissioners feel about that.
I'm with you, word for word.
Okay.
I also think that there must have been some, when you see a retaining wall added, there must have been fill added behind it. What was it like prior to? Do we have any records of that? Does the owner have any records of that in terms of trying to get, the retaining wall is quite long, it appears. I don't know the dimensions in on there, I don't think. 120 feet, something, yeah.
Yeah, fairly
And
substantial.
then it returns probably 20 feet.
Yeah.
One would assume that was grading down toward the flags, and now it's flat. So, it's just not something, I don't know how we could make it compatible with our other decisions.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly there was a backyard there. I mean, I don't have any pre-existing records from the client. You know, I'm assuming that this is going to be a matter that's obviously going to take more than one meeting. So I will go back and ask for any records, photographs, anything like that that would be of help, that could help the commission and my client make that determination. What I can tell you is that the backyard area was a pre-existing yard, and you are correct. It does appear to me when you're on site, it hits you that it was, you know, basically a filling, but it was a filling within a pre-existing yard, and it was designed to flatten it out. So yeah, you were definitely correct on that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And would the brick patio, was part of that existing, or was that put on at this time?
That was built with the retaining wall structure.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's also a basketball court that was built.
that's-
Delia, if you-
That's far
I think
away
we
though.
can live with that.
Yeah, that's in the 50 to 100,
Yeah.
right? So I don't think that's really the.
I think the
issue.
point we're making here is that's probably something we, after working out a few details, would have been permitted by us. These other things, you're putting us in a very small box to work out for you.
Yeah, I think it's,
And that's just,
yeah.
I'm just wondering if, say, worst case scenario, we ask everything to come out, would that actually cause more damage than just leaving it as it is now? Or not?
Well,
Well, I would be concerned about the area that's located closest to the wetland.
but
I mean, I did an extensive amount of soils work over on that close flag just to make sure that the wetland wasn't filled. And he came close to it, but the wetland was not filled. And I'd just be worried about doing a reverse construct that of causing more problems than we resolve.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Certainly, there are sections of the wall that probably could be removed and grading be done in addition to the planting plan that's proposed. Maybe expand the planting plan a little bit, for mitigation purposes.
I think at least what I'm thinking is, rather than showing some mitigation, we'd like to see something that looks like a plan that gets it back to something like what it was before, not just some plantings.
Yeah, I think it's going to take, to Nick's point, I think it's going to take a little bit more work than just, if you will, softscape mitigation. It's a fairly significant push into the 25, and literally you're 4 feet off the BVW there. I mean, I just don't see how we can let that stand, frankly.
Good faith effort to naturalize that area. A plan showing there may be some wiggle room there if something looks like, hey, prefer not to do it because something in a certain spot, because will have a negative impact. I think that we can discuss that, but
yeah, but I don't think ignorance is a excuse
plant
for
some
not
blueberries.
complying with regulations. I mean, I know it was done benignly, and it was, and it's unfortunate, especially in light of the transaction that's trying to be contemplated here, but nonetheless. And I'm also a little struck, obviously a contractor was brought in to do this, and there's a contractor building frankly, in the water to set this retaining wall, and how that most people would kind of know that, and no building permit on record at all for the retaining wall. Yeah, so there's a series of missteps along the way. And again, I think if Matt, if you and the client can look, I think a little bit more significantly at, some hardscape, restoration. I think that's where you want to go.
Restoration is the word.
Yeah.
So
Something like a
this
restoration.
is the line of the existing structure that was in place.
Yeah.
Do you want to see that line is carried across so that this portion of the patio can remain?
Oh yeah, I think we could live with that, because again, it's that proximity, from the existing structure, give or take, but I think we really got to see efforts to get out of the 25. I just don't see how we can live with that and continue to kind
Precedent
of
would be.
push forward. Sure would be. Because again, other people might make mistakes.
Pardon me, that was my dog.
No problem.
Okay.
So Matt, if
So,
Matt, I think if you and again, the homeowner can, kind of revisit this and make some stronger efforts to look at that hardscape and really try to get it out of the 25. And again, that swings back to the other side as well, the planting beds, the split rail fence, and the regrading over there as well. And we respect it's a significant amount of work. But I think that's kind of, where we're at the moment.
Nope, and yeah, I understand and appreciate the commission's position. Knowing the commission's position was one of the main reasons why I immediately called Delia to discuss the situation. And then had GPR brought on board, I wanted to have an engineering company that's experienced in restoration and mitigation of issues like this. And I've worked with them in the past and they've always filled the bill quite nicely. So I will work with them and the client and we'll put our heads together, do some elbow grease, come up with some more alternatives for you guys to consider, refine it, come up with something everybody can live with. I mean, and my client realizes that was the potential possibility here. And on his behalf, he wanted to apologize to the commission. I wanted to make it clear, and I know you guys know this, but I just want to make it clear for the record that when he became aware of what was going on, he immediately turned himself in. That's why I'm here.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for saying that and really respect the both that attitude and the quick kind of response as well. So thank you and the client for doing so.
You're very welcome, sir.
Yes.
Hi, how are you? My name is Colby Field. Joe reached out to me as a contractor after he had realized the situation that he was in here. And I just wanted to put on record that when the situation is figured out, I am ready to move on this project for Joe in whatever direction you guys choose. My father's a contractor in Littleton area, and I've dealt with a lot of mitigation, replication areas. I worked out here with our Conservation Commission quite well. And I right off the bat, just looking at this plan for the first time today, I see that some of this wall, I've been on site as well. Some of this wall could be easily removed and graded back to natural. The closest point in the middle there would be kind of a tough project to remove any material without spillover, as coming from a contractor standpoint. I don't know if you guys have any more questions or comments on that, but I'm interested to hear.
Well, thank you for that. But I guess I would say that area is of most concern.
Okay.
Closest to the wetland is of greater concern. So, and again, with your experience, I'm sure that the spillover could be dealt with appropriate controls. So, but I'm glad you're ready to go as the client and the engineers determine, along with the NRC, what the next step should be.
Absolutely. I'll be on standby.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, I will get in touch with our esteemed contractor here and probably meet with him on site so we can go over some of the dynamics that I can present to GPR in the refinement of the design and an upcoming proposal for your consideration. I also appreciate the fact that you said you've done a lot of work in Littleton.
Yes.
I've done a lot of restoration work in Littleton myself. Their standards are very similar to the town of Concord. So you've got some seasoned experience, which is good to hear. So with that, I guess unless there's no more questions, I would request a continuance.
Okay. Well, thank you, Matt. All right. So we'll continue this.
So can I just
Yeah,
ask a
please.
question? I see Betty Ann, hi, I see that you're on the call, and I just want to be sure that you and everybody feels like there's enough guidance that is being provided so that the transaction can continue to proceed tomorrow.
Yes, I don't know that the transaction will proceed tomorrow. Obviously, I need to speak to my clients about it. But I think we have a very good understanding from this conversation tonight about what is going to be required in order to satisfy, in order to be able to get an order of conditions. So I feel like I definitely am going to be able to discuss this both with my clients and the seller's attorney.
Okay, so Betty Ann is the attorney for,
Yes, I represent the buyers.
okay, thank you. All
So
right.
thank you, Delia.
Okay, and before I forget, any public comment in regard to the application or this discussion this evening? Nothing out there? Okay. Continuing, Matt, when would you like to continue this to? September 1 might, you want to come back September 1?
Yes, I would like to come back September 1. If we have any design issues or timing issues, I'll let Delia know right away. But I'm assuming that we could probably get the wheels going and the elbow grease on and get everything to you for that meeting.
When would that have to be?
That would be pretty quick.
Next Friday.
Next Friday.
Next
Okay.
Friday noon.
GPR showed me that they can get this stuff done pretty quickly, so I have some confidence in them.
Okay, very good.
You can always continue.
Yeah, yeah. You can let Delia know if it's September 1 or thereafter.
Or Karen.
Or Karen.
How do you guys feel about starting on some of the mulch removal and some of the work that's on here with the plantings and stuff that
I don't think I do anything until we have an overall approved plan that that everybody has kind of weighed in on. Yeah, I don't think we want to piecemeal this without a holistic approach.
Okay, fair enough.
Thank you. All right, we'll see you back September 1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
guys.
you very much.
Yep,
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's see. I think we're down to minor mods. Nope. Oh, continue.
Now we have 43 Old Bedford.
Yeah, Matt again, right? Notice of intent, 43 Old Bedford Road. DEP file number 137-1504.
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, take your time.
Okay.
Thank you for putting this like this on and having me zoom in, one after the other here. It saved me from having to zoom to the, to physically zoom to the meeting at Warp 2 from Auburn. So. Okay, so what we have now is we've gone back, did a site inspection with Delia. I've worked with my clients. Rosemary, who was down for a while with some health issues, including a bout with COVID-19, and then on top of that, having a pacemaker installed, is doing well, feeling much better these days, and was eager to get these revisions drawn. So what we've done to propose mitigation to the commission, in the center part of the plans up on top where Delia's hand is circling, there is an existing bridge crossing going over the wetland system that's been there for date that precedes my birth, which is, considering I'm ancient, it's been there for a long time. So what we're proposing to do is to take this bridge out. We will take this crossing and remove it. I have submitted a narrative plan for the removal of the bridge. Essentially, it's pavement on the top, and then it's got a culvert with essentially a block wall structure to support, like small vehicles going over it as well as foot traffic. That would all be removed and the wetland area restored. We would plant wetland plantings along the sides. It's a steeper bank there, but it's not so steep that it would cause an erosion issue, and the plants would take probably very readily. So we'll do that, and a mixed, buffer zone planting that is there. You can see it in the detail to the right in the box detail. And around the area of restoration that we proposed with the additional plantings along the actual BVW itself in the existing, what is now existing strip of yard adjacent to the BVW, where, you know, Delia's hand is now scrolling over. We would do the plantings, which again, the square footage that I gave you was based on both the 1-to-1 guideline and the 10-to-1 guideline. So that total square footage is consistent with your bylaw and would be planted. And in front of the plantings, there would be pheno markers put in every 20 feet. Those are shown on the plan in green dots with the words basically inscribed that the area would not be, you know, maintained or mowed unless it was through November 15th to April 15th. And then the growing season, it would remain untouched. Maintenance would essentially account for, you know, any invasives that start to pop up, et cetera. Because, you know, I mean, as we all know, those tend to want to rear their ugly heads in moments that we don't want them there. So I'm hopeful that this will address a lot of the commission's concerns. I know you've been very patient with this project. I know you've been willing to work with the applicants. And we're hoping that this effort to restore this wetland area and restore some connectivity of this pre-existing structure is a good mitigating factor for you guys.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, as I recall from previous hearings, we were looking for maybe the shed coming out of the 25 to kind of offset the incursion into the 50 or something like that. So it seems like you've kind of hit the nail on the head in terms of, you know, removing the bridge and, you know, in the most sensitive part of the site. So it seems like a good resolution. So.
Thank you, sir.
Commission?
I agree. I think it's innovative and smart idea.
Yeah. Okay. So the commission's good. Any public comment in regard to the updated plan before us? Delia, do you see any public comment in regard to this? The commission is good with it?
I do not see any public comments.
Okay. Well, Matt, I think we have something for you this evening. I think this is it.
Those are the demos.
These are the demos.
No. There you go. Check this one. Yep, there it is. It's throwing the good work away.
I'm close and issue an order of conditions for DEP file number 1371504, 43 Old Bedford Road, with findings A, B, and C, standard conditions 1 through 20, and special conditions 21 through 56.
Second.
Thanks, Greg. On the vote, Greg?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. Matt, thank you for sticking with it. Good luck.
Thanks, Matt.
And Matt,
Thank
before you go,
Yes.
we didn't get a chance to talk about this. I forgot to bring it up at the last hearing. So just be prepared at the next meeting that discussion on preparing a 3-year invasives control for the knotweed that's on the slope is something that the commission is likely going to ask you for at the next meeting, unless it comes in as part of the proposal.
The previous discussion that we had.
Lindsay Pond Road.
Oh, okay. So for the Lindsay Pond Road, you want a
Yeah.
knotweed remediation plan? Absolutely. Okay. I will make a note of that now, and I will include that in my entreaties to the engineer.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate that. Good luck on the project.
And thank you all for sticking with us on Old Bedford Road. I truly appreciate your patience, and Delia, you and all of your staff, your kindness.
Likewise.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks. Have a good night, guys.
Yep, you too. All right, next up, minor modification.
Yes.
Gwynn, 296 Bedford Street, DEP file number 137-1516.
Good evening. My name is Joe Gwynn. I'm the homeowner of 296 Bedford Street. just quickly to reorient you to the initial work before we talk about the minor modification. This is an approved project that essentially two projects. Project one was to put a patio and what's called a soak pool on top of an old foundation where there was a barn that burned down. That's like bottom left in this map. The second part of the approved project was to do an addition on the house, building out a second story over the existing first floor. And that's the area there where Delia has put the hand this time. In the process of getting our building permit so the first project is done, the building permit's closed. The second project, in the process of getting the building permit for that work, there was a water and sewer department, I don't know what you call it, finding, essentially that there's a policy that for projects meeting certain criterion, one of which is more than $200,000 of construction cost, if the home has a water line that's older than something, it has to be updated as part of the project. And so we fall into that scope and we have to update our water line. The good news is, you may remember, I don't know, you may or may not remember, but we've been here before. When we bought this house 5 years ago, we had to either build a new septic or connect to town sewer, and we all decided connecting to town sewer was better for everything, and so we did that. And we connected to town sewer by running down along under this whole long driveway that goes through the wetlands. And when we did that, we put a sleeve and a water line in that hole. We never hooked it up because we didn't have a need, and we were trying to cut costs everywhere we could. There was a lot of things we had to do. So the water line now just needs to be hooked up on both ends. And so what that means is, yep, right where Delia is showing there and there. So I'll talk about the side by the house first. So the side by the house, the water line comes now within I don't know, 4 or 5 feet of the house. It's at the corner of the house where the main water line shutoff is. So perfect, thank you, Delia. So they will come in right into that corner of the house. So they have to dig there, bring it in, the plumber has to hook it up. The same contractor who put the sewer line in for us and put the water line in for us will do this work. So he knows where it is, he has record of it, he's the one who put it there. And we will put erosion controls in place where that big thick red line is shown, and he said he will be in and out in 1 day to do that work. And then similarly, Delia, if you can go to the street side, similarly here, the water line is there, it just has to be connected to the connection in the street there under the sidewalk. And so similarly, we would put erosion controls down. He would be working in that area, and that would also be an in and out in 1 day job. So 2 total days, but each day would be dig and connect and fill it back up by the end of the day. And I am trying to think if there's any other details I missed, but I'm not thinking of them. So any questions?
No, it's very fortunate you had brought the water line in previously.
Yeah.
You know, good foresight to do so. So
just one thing, Joe, just double check. I don't know if you need a curb cut permit from Public Works. But if you're cutting in, if the contractor's cutting into the road.
you would definitely I can get touching any public.
Yeah.
Roadway or sidewalk, right?
Talk to,
No
talk to CPW
Yeah.
engineering.
Absolutely. I mean, we will have to get a permit from water and sewer. And so all of that would,
Yeah, they require.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. One thing will trigger the other thing, I know Rick Roselle, who's the contractor, has done that before, and I'm sure he will do it the right way.
okay,
But thank you for mentioning that.
okay. So I think we're good here. Yep, I would move to approve the minor mod.
Do we have any public comment?
Any public comment?
Nope.
Before we
I mean,
move
I
to
just-
approve? Thank you. Yep, no, thank you. All right.
I guess I'm on again.
You're on again. Busy night.
I move to approve the minor modification with the following conditions. 1, provision shall be made for dewatering to connect to the water service, and 2, a pre-construction site visit shall be held with contractor and the DNR staff to review the erosion controls and limits of work. That's it.
Second?
Thank you, Nick. The vote, Greg?
Yes.
Nick?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Good luck. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Yeah, you too. All right, now, our favorite project, emergency certification ratification. That's a mouthful.
So, this was, I had to issue another emergency certification because DEP had not issued a file number for more than 6 weeks before we got a file number. So obviously that work, the emergency work at Monument Street still needed to proceed. So that was another emergency certification that was just a repeat of what had been issued at the end of April.
And no DEP file number yet?
I
Oh,
had
you did
since
get one.
followed up with DEP.
That's right. Just,
And I've been following up with them all month, but the last email that I sent was a little sterner than the ones I sent previously. So we do have a file number, but I need the ratification of the emergency certification first,
right.
approving my issuance of that emergency work to proceed, and then we can close an issue with the next step.
Okay. We have a motion for this?
To ratify.
I
Motion.
move to ratify the emergency certification for work on Monument Street, sawmill brick culvert replacement.
Second on that.
Thank you, Greg. And the vote, Greg?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well.
Entertaining work. I drive by it almost every day.
Oh, yeah,
Really?
it is. I drove by there today just to
Just to check it
check
out.
it out.
It is really impressive.
Yeah. All right. Close an issue. We got a couple of those,
Yep.
Delia?
Yes, the 51 Coolidge and the Public Works project. These are ready for you.
Okay.
Final plans. Actually, yeah, we got final plans.
All right. So this one is 51 Coolidge Road. If you want to take that
You want to practice?
Oh, sure.
All right. There you go.
Say it again.
I move to close the issue.
I move that we close an issue. That one. DEP file number 137Y1571 with findings A and B and special conditions, standard conditions 1 through 20, thank you, and special conditions 21 through 51.
Second.
Okay. And the vote, Greg?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
I am an aye as well. And yeah, we have one more. This is, yep, keep it running right down the end.
Practice or
This is the same, so I move to close an issue. DE.
It's on the agenda. Yeah, we got it. It's on the agenda.
File 1371572.
Yeah.
With
standard conditions, the findings A through D, standard conditions 1 through 19, and special conditions 20 through 45.
Thanks, Sarah.
Second.
Thank you, Greg. And the vote, Greg?
Aye.
Nick? Aye. Sarah?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. Great. All right, we got some COCs.
Yep, so the first is a partial, that was a demo and rebuild on 210 Park Lane. The house has been constructed, we have the as-built on that, they are going to be turning that over. The mitigation is ongoing, so the full COC will be issued once that's complete.
Okay. All right, so we'll need a.
Make a motion to issue a
Motion?
COC for 210 Park Lane, DEP file number 1371540 as a partial.
Second. Do you want me to just run through and tell you what each
Yeah,
of these
well,
are?
then we can do it as a
Yeah.
batch.
I'd love
That'd
to
be
do that.
great.
Concord Carlisle High School, there are two projects. The first one was the sewer realignment project. And the second one was the construction of the turf fields. And if you recall, there was some issues with the drainage. Those were since resolved with GPR coming in and doing a design. It looks fabulous, and they're doing a really nice job. They put in, restoration markers along the 25-foot no disturb zone, and they're not mowing it as it should be, and it's full of.
And it's working.
And it's working. It's great. Lux, let's see, that was for an addition. And then we have two of the middle six school projects. They are chipping away.
These are the old ones. that get-
Yeah.
Yes. So this is good. I mean, we always put in their permits within 6 months of issuance, and they're really now sinking their teeth into it. Those are good to go.
Okay,
You want to do them all?
do them all. Do them all.
Make a motion, it issues certificates of compliance for DEP file numbers 137-1540, which is a partial, and DEP file number 137-1148, and file number 137-1258, and file number 137-1498, and file number 137-1347, and file number 137-1464.
Second.
Thanks, Nick. And the vote, Greg?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. And lastly, other business.
Just one. So the state APR program, plan up here. So this is Hutchins Farm, and over a period of a number of years, they placed lands that they owned into APR. And that was a way of just maintaining funds coming in and being able to maintain the farm, family farm. So it was a number of different, I think it was 6 different APRs, and the state is a holder as well as the town. And they just need to fix a little boo-boo. There was a shed and portion of the APR where it didn't belong. So they basically swapped out, they're taking parcel AA out of APR and they're placing in parcel DB. And they're going to re-record the deed and then this APR. It's really just a confirmatory APR. So they're looking for your acceptance of that. And then also a recommendation that the select board approve that confirmatory APR transfer. And then at some point in the future, what they're looking to do is basically dissolve all of those interior boundaries so that they have one, which would
Yeah,
be so
why not?
much easier, one outline of the APR boundary. So that's in the future.
So you're looking for a recommendation?
So a vote to approve
Yeah.
the confirmatory APR and also a vote to recommend select board accept. No, you accept and they approve. Yes.
I make a motion to do whatever. she said.
To accept the confirmatory
To accept
APR and
You have it?
recommend select board approval.
Do we have that right?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness,
Right
it's
there.
right in front of my eyeballs. I make a motion to move and accept the confirmatory APR and recommend select board.
Second.
Thanks, Nick. And the vote, Greg?
Aye.
Nick? Aye. Sarah?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. And then I will be looking for one last motion.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you, Nick.
Second,
And the vote. Nick,
Aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
Craig,
no.
all right.
Contrary.
Turn off the lights, and I am an I as well.
Lots of things to sign, huh?
Thank you, guys.
Oh,
Oh, we gotta sign.
things.
Yeah.
Sign.
Is that always just one meeting in August, or is it
Yes.
just, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Broadcast
That's all
over.
that's fine.
Thank you. We're off.
And are we off the-
No, not yet. Thanks.
We need, you need a pen?